Hey guys, it's been almost a year since I set up the Steampunk aquarium, and I wanted to just take this thing out. We're going to take it apart, look inside, and see how it's doing. It's coming right up, right now. Hey YouTube, this is Pecktec, and today we're going to take a look at the Steampunk aquarium. Like I said, I made this for the Big Fish deal last year, and I won a couple of awards. I'm very, very proud of this tank. This was a really fun thing to put together. I didn't know a lot about woodworking. My uncle Steve went down in his shop and basically assembled all these wooden pieces and stuff, and I just kind of like pointed out how I wanted them to be. The concept for this actually came from looking at one of those decorative Kleenex boxes that you could just kind of take the little wood frame and put it over the Kleenex box, and I was like, wow, that's a neat way to kind of dress something up. So it really gives the appearance of this being like a really primitive, kind of like maybe scientific container. I've had to do almost no maintenance for this tank. In fact, I've only done maybe 2 water changes since I set it up. I do test it consistently just to see how it's doing, and it's basically zeros across the board. No ammonia, no nitrate, no nitrite. The plant that definitely outcompeted every other plant in the Wabikusa tray up here was the Crypt Wendetti. It just grew straight up, and actually its leaves just kind of encompassed the entire top of the glass canopy up here. There are a few other plants that made it too, but that one by far did the best and had the most to take away from. I took away all the really giant leaves off that particular plant and just kind of made it a smaller plant with the newer growth and arranged it so it could grow a little bit more up from the back and then towards the front. So it'll have a little bit more room to breathe, definitely a lot more light for other plants and stuff to grow in here. I repositioned the fern quite a bit. It was just kind of going everywhere. It was just fern all the way in every nook and cranny that the crypt wasn't covering. There was a bit of fern kind of working its way up through there. So I kind of tamed it down, and I made a nice little layer of the other Wabikusa balls. I'll just let it grow up from there. It should look interesting. We'll see what it looks like after a couple of weeks. As far as maintenance on the Wabikusa ball, I basically almost did nothing. I just never took the canopy off, and it stayed really humid inside there, and it's kept them just fine. A lot of times with these things, especially when you first plant them, you want to just make sure they stay nice and moist. So that's why I had the spray bottle there, and you could take it off and spray it and stuff. But it ultimately got to the point with this thing where if I pulled the canopy off, I'd be fighting to try to get all the leaves and everything back in there. It just kind of grown up to live up in these higher areas, and pulling it apart wasn't an option. But I was surprised just how healthy it stayed, just leaving the canopy on, just enjoying it. If you want to do this, a large canopy is really interesting. It just kind of makes a little miniature greenhouse right here on the top of your tank. There's substrate inside the tray too, just in case something gets loose, or maybe I want to plant something right next to the Wabikusa ball, or if I decide the Wabikusa ball isn't working out and I want to take it out and plant directly in there, I can do that too. And it's a really versatile sort of top filter, but actually built down into the aquarium, but in this top corner. This kind of filter is definitely not the most attractive thing like without the sleeve, but it works so well. I could definitely see somebody that was maybe breeding fish in a bare bottom tank that's just using a sponge filter anyway. This would be kind of a neat alternative for somebody like that. I'm really proud of this thing, but I will admit that it is a pain in the butt to really get this lid off, on and off. It really does. It almost takes 2 people, because I end up with 4 power cords when I've got a cord for the light. I got another light here with a separate cord, and I've got of course a heater and a pump in here. So that's 4 power cords going in, and I have to kind of get someone to hold those power cords as I lift this off. Other than that, it's not a big deal. Or if I was to actually drain it down and just throw the cords inside and pull it up, that'd be one thing, but I wouldn't typically do that for maintenance. When I finally did get inside this thing, I was very shocked to find out that it was completely clean. Wrapped around the pump in here is porette foam, and I use that as a pre-filter for a bunch of different filters that I have, especially with shrimp, like the hang on the back filters to keep the shrimp from just running up the pipes. And the porette foam is also what I used on the corner filter for the Into the Woods tank. It is fantastic. It doesn't break down like regular foam does, and I got mine from Swiss Tropicals. So when I went to dump the foam into some aquarium water to kind of rinse it out and clean it after I finally got everything apart, I was shocked to see it like barely tinted the water. I mean, there was almost nothing there as far as like debris. So it wasn't a big mess in there at all. I mean, even the walls and everything seemed okay. There's a little bit of algae in there. I don't know if having this blue light on all the time probably causes some kind of weird things, but it's not bad. It's just like a little touch of algae. It's nothing terrible. While I was in there though, I decided to rearrange the rocks a little bit. I just wanted to play with that design a little bit more, so I trained the tank down pretty low and just kind of carefully pulled most of the rocks out, and then I replaced them in different areas and kind of made it look the way I wanted it to. I guess it was a complete redo of the Hardscape, but I mean, it's a 5-gallon tank, so it was nothing to kind of pull it out and then just put it back in a different way. And actually, it was a lot of fun to do that. You do have to be careful that you don't squish any fishes, though. While I was building the big tank, I was using the custom little spray bottle that I made for this aquarium. And as you can see here, of course, it fell and shattered on the tile. So my little custom spray bottle is broken until I find another jar that'll go in there. And while we're talking about the tools and stuff, actually while I was working on the Wabikusa ball, so at some point I had taken the stool and I moved it out of the way. And then I was sitting in there working on the Wabikusa ball and trying to get it all arranged, and I leaned back to go sit in the chair that wasn't there anymore. It just completely fell on this thing, on the shell of this thing that I had pulled off. I fell on here, like on the back, right on top of these dental tools. Freaking sharp, pointy dental tools. Yeah, I fell on that. It was basically like somebody smacked a cat and threw it down the back of my shirt. It was very painful, and unfortunately I was not very far through fixing this tank. But not long after, I was able to kind of just recover, put this thing back together, and enjoy the little mud cloud that I just created. Another super cool thing about this tank though, the way this filter works, it goes into this kind of this bed up here, so it instantly clears the fog. I mean, it was as clear as a bell on the very next day, so that was really neat. I mean, to go from this to this in a day is pretty good, I think. Well, the fish seem okay. They're all swimming around and kind of exploring the new areas that I've created for them and stuff. I'm probably going to pull this Endler out. He's already starting to kind of annoy me. I rescued him out of another tank where I was afraid he'd be eaten. I'm going to have to move him along down the line over to another tank while I maybe get some more of these other guys. But folks, that's all I got. Until next time, follow your bliss, keep a clean tank, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. So anyway, I took a bucket of water, and he's neat to let, just kind of give it a good rinse out, you know, to kind of see what I've done, you know, just